executors are born. Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us.
No! We will not service Washington.
Mr. Wolf, fire.
Well, we are here and live, and this is another episode of the Renegade and the Rambler show, only on the Cerberus Radio Network. And yes, some of the graphics have been updated, some of them haven't been. Anyway, I'm not a graphic artist. We all know this. I'm a truck driver, and I want to be radio host. But anyway, so I had an eventful week, but how was your week, Jeff?
Well, without getting into any of the details, it has been a relatively stressful week. New York State has thrown yet another hardball, curveball at us. And so we are in kind of a strange spot right now. I'm not going to get into any details. People that know me know all the details anyway. So it's just been kind of a stressful week. Not kind of in a limbo state at this point. So,
oh, my soul. Yeah, I hear you there. I've been driving through New York City all week, so that was a lot of fun.
New York City, good grief! I feel for you. I mean, I don't go there personally. I avoid that place. I've been there once in my life, and I would never go back.
Oh, I go to Brooklyn every night. I think I see on average one near accident to at least 3 accidents every trip into the city.
Yeah, I take that back. I've been to Brooklyn a number of times in relation to my duties, but I've only been in New York once otherwise, and I would never go back to go just otherwise.
I was going to say there's only 2 landmarks I want to see in New York City, and that's the Statue of Liberty and the Freedom Tower. I just want to see the view off the top of the tower, but I think I can get a webcam that'll show me all that without actually going there. Yeah. So I
guess I'm going to just break in here and change the subject slightly for a minute. Suzanne and I were supposed to do a show tomorrow. It was posted up that we were doing a show tomorrow. And then I realized that tomorrow is a federal holiday. That means I forgot all about it. I was sitting here planning. I was actually doing prep for tomorrow. I spoke to the guests for Suzanne's show for tomorrow. And about an hour later, it dawned on me that tomorrow is a federal holiday. That means my shift changes from 2 to 10 to 9 to 5. So I am 9 to 5 tomorrow. So there will not be a paradigm shift or the Wasatch report. And that is because of me. Sorry, Suzanne and Brian, that oversight. Sorry, that's all I can say. I don't know what else to do. Anyway, so there is no show tomorrow. I'm not sure what day. I know that we're going to do this, and I know we're rescheduling her guest. And when we get that done, please tune in because it'll be a good show. She has a really good guest lined up. Yeah, it'll be a very enjoyable show. So definitely tune in when Suzanne and I finally get her show on the air.
The wonders of scheduling conflicts.
Well, I just haven't figured a way yet just not to go to work anymore. And trust me, I would love not to go to work anymore.
Wait, when you figure that out, brother, you let me in on the secret, would you?
Yeah, I will. I'm pretty well stuck for another 7 years. So anyway, enough of that stuff. I guess when my team's done, they came up short and they lost to, well, yeah, whatever. They lost. Anyway,
it is going to be interesting watching Jacksonville take on New England next week.
Yes.
Jacksonville, you got to think, has the upper hand going into that game with their defense the way it is. Because if you take Gronk out of the game, Brady's going to lose a target.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I thought they would have a harder time. New England had a harder time against their opponent yesterday, right? They played yesterday.
No, it was today. Well, if Shazier had been there and not hurt, I think you would have had a completely different game as well. It's hard to play a game when your star player on defense is out with a back injury.
Yeah. So anyway, my team's done now. They lost by 3. And I guess that's okay. It for that.
Mine went out and hired the Browns head coach to be the defensive coordinator now. So
he may actually be good at that.
I hope so. I feel for Don Capers. He was a great defensive end defensive coordinator in his day, but he hadn't had it in the last couple of years, and his age was getting to him, I think, too. But
yeah. All right, so I guess there's 2 big stories this week, and one of them I can't repeat word for word, but it is called, I called it, to make it family friendly, excrement full of excrement hole. There you go.
Bleep hole gate.
Excrement filled hole gate.
I need a bleep.
I think every adult out there knows exactly what I'm talking about. So that's all that matters. The young ears weren't offended. So, I mean, it has been everywhere in the news. I mean, I don't know anyone out there that could possibly say they have no idea what I'm talking about. Unless you were out camping somewhere out in the outback, so you had no television, radio, or phone for the last 48, 72 hours, whatever it's been.
4 days.
It has... it's been like 4 days. I can't remember what day this broke. It's just been going on and on. And quite honestly, if we are honest with ourselves, we all think the exact same thing. I know the darling, but it is certainly a crap hole. So, hi. I can't see you, but I can hear you. All right. So the Donald said what we all are thinking. The Nicaraguas, name your third world country that Haiti. I mean, come on. These places are crap holes. And I'm not describing the people. I'm describing their governments. Their governments keep the people in this condition while the governments live in the lap of luxury. The leader of Venezuela is not suffering. He's not looking for his next meal. While everyone else is rioting in the streets because they have no food, he's eating just fine. He's living just fine in his palace. He has an army around him to protect him. And the people live in squalor. So I'm not describing, and if, and that's a big thing too. Now it's a he said. One senator saying that Trump said it. Other 2 senators are saying he didn't say it. So whether he said it or not, we don't know. Who cares?
But Jeff,
it's true.
The Democrats, the Black Caucus, is going to try to censure the president over a word, not a criminal act, just a descriptive adjective, shall we say.
And again, I'm not going to make it sound like I'm supporting Trump on this, but in honesty, we all think this already. And like I said, I'm sure he wasn't just denigrating the people of those countries. He was denigrating their governments for keeping the people in those countries living in abject poverty and in squalor. Look at pictures of Haiti. Look at pictures of Venezuela. Look at pictures of you name your third world country. Those people live in squalor. They're crap holes because their governments keep the people living like that while they live the lap of luxury. I'm not very far distant from what our government is. You look at, again, this is, let's just be honest here. Our government is not much better. Now, here, most of us don't live in squalor.
Yet.
But what other job do you know, Daniel, that you can go into, get elected to, go into, make a career out of at an upper middle class wage of $170,000 a year as a maybe a moderately well off middle class person? Most of them go in there probably with maybe $250,000, $300,000 in assets, and when they retire, are massively wealthy, multi-millionaires. What other job can you take in our line of work and turn up your little $175,000 a year wage into hundreds of millions of dollars?
I can't think of any.
Our government's exactly the same as those governments there. We just don't live in squalor yet. That's the only difference.
Of course, you're only stating their actual salary. You left out their per diem, their government car, their government airline tickets. There's not much that's not paid for by the taxpayers here.
Right. Everyone pays for them. The citizen pays for them. I don't like taxpayer just because because we are a number. We all know it. We're just a number. You got your social security number, Daniel. I'm not going to say what mine is, but we're just a number. We are a taxpayer to them. That's how they see us. We look at ourselves as citizens. They look at us as a resource to be tapped.
So if a congressman, quote, works for Congress, and Congress gives him a paycheck out of that, then Congress would have to do their own tax filings. At some point, you would think these congressmen that actually have to do their own tax filings on their own people would realize how bogus this tax code is and want to change it. Oh, wait, we just outsource it all. We forget we even have that as an issue.
Do they even file taxes? I'm sure they do.
Well, we have a couple from New York City that never paid any taxes, but how you can get elected to Congress and vote on taxes and not pay them, I don't know. In fact, I don't know how you get to Congress having never paid your taxes, owing the federal government millions of dollars in back taxes, having a court judgment against you for those back taxes, and then refusing to make payments for it and still be a member of Congress. I can't understand. But Congress is going to censure the president over bleep hole gate. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Congress.
The problem is people out there are all up in arms. It's okay. Here we go. If I said this on Facebook, if all you have that Trump is a racist or Trump is Hitler, then you're a special kind of stupid. You're socialist stupid. Okay. And I said it on the air. There you go. You're socialist stupid if that's all you have. Okay. You may not like Trump. I don't necessarily like Trump. But that's what we got right now until we change our form of government, which we advocate here. That's what we have. So I dealt with yours for 8 years.
Yeah, and we were all told to sit down and shut up. Remember that, Jeff?
Sit down and shut up.
There was an election. The people spoke. Sit down, shut up. Elections have consequences, quote unquote. Not so nice when that shoe's on the other foot, is it? Yeah. Not that it ever actually got to the other foot, but...
Right. I mean, in honesty, Trump was a masterful politician. He said all the right things. The base came out and they supported him. We're going to stop. We're going to put a wall there. We're going to stop illegal immigration. Where are we at today? We're talking about DACA.
You know, the most interesting thing, and I think the thing that aggravates the politicians and the media the most on Trump is it seems like he can say and do just about anything and nothing seems to stick to him. It's like he's Teflon.
Well,
just
that
all
was
slides right off.
that was Bill. That was Obama. I mean, it's no
Yeah,
different.
but even with Bill, he at least got, impeached and everything else. He just didn't get removed from office because a wonderful congressman or senator from Pennsylvania decided to view it as Scottish law instead of American law. Rest his soul. But with Obama, they just didn't cover anything. With Bush, they kind of did and kind of didn't.
Yeah. So when it comes down to it, this whole thing doesn't mean anything. And this whole name calling, just grow up a little bit. But even if he said this, it's really not that offensive. And actually, there's an article out there, I didn't print it out, of King Obama saying the same thing about Libya, basically. He called it S show.
I bet you all those congressmen and senators in that meeting have at some point in their political career behind closed doors, because let's remember this meeting was behind closed doors. It was supposed to be a hush-hush meeting, has said that word before. In fact, they probably used the other word for it that's even more of a derogatory sense. They just don't agree with it because they think this is something they can nail him on as being whatever. And it's so far, I don't think it's working.
So, it isn't. And I just hope that they don't bludgeon him to the point where he just caves on this whole dreamer thing.
I think the fix is already in on that one, my friend.
I don't know. It probably is. We'll see. I mean, what difference does it make now? I mean, we really are on that downward slope. It's just a matter of time when it all falls apart. I mean, there's no stopping it now. They doubled down on it. They're going to keep going. The Republicans, who used to be for fiscal sanity for a long, long time ago, used to be for fiscal sanity and lower taxes and less spending. They've given up on that. They're all in on spending as much as they can and taxing as much as they can. And they're no different than the Democrats. They're just two sides of the toonie. There's two sides of that same toonie.
The interesting point, though, is that the Democrats used to be on the side of states' rights and independence, and now they are the exact opposite of what they were. What was it, about 150 plus years ago? Shocking how roles can be changed in that short of time. And the Republicans are doing well. The Republicans are actually the more consistent party. They've always been the, excuse the language, the screw you party. They screw you one way and then they screw you another way.
Yeah. So anyway, for those of you out there that don't know what I was talking about there with Toonie, Daniel and I were discussing Canadian coins before the show, and we looked it up because we could not remember what the $2 piece was called in Canada. The $1 piece is a loonie, and a $2 piece is a toonie. So there you go. That's why I said they're the same. They're the two sides of the same toonie.
All right. Do we want to hit the break here, boss?
Sure, absolutely. Go there because I went out of this conversation.
All right. This is the Renegade and the Rambler show, and we are just causing awkward conversations all over the place today. We'll be right back after this.
I am Locutus, Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us.
No, we will not service Washington.
Mr. Worf, fire.
Well, we are here and live, and this is another episode of the Renegade and the Rambler show, only on the Cerberus Radio Network. And yes, some of the graphics have been updated, some of them haven't been. Anyway, I'm not a graphic artist. We all know this. I'm a truck driver, and I want to be radio host. But anyway, so I have. Oh, yes. We have to all get better before we can even think of dying. This is the Renegade and the Rambler show, only on the Cerberus Radio Network. You can find us on YouTube at the page, I believe, that all updated. It should be under Cerberus Radio Network. Facebook's the same thing. And we have a fan page there if you want to pop in there and say you like the show, say you didn't care for it, whatever. We don't care. But you can pop in there and spout off. Anyway, Jeff.
We do care if you. We care if you give us your feedback. I'm good. I mean, I get it all the time at work. Guys at work listen because they want to come in and they think it bothers me when they come in and give me a hard time about it. I'm like to. I don't care. Listen, I'm glad. Please listen, and tell us what you think.
I'm a trucker. I get told I'm number one at least 1 or 2 times coming in and out of the city each night. So it really doesn't bother me anymore. It used to when I first started driving because I'd sit there and go, what did I do? Then I realized I didn't do anything. They're just in a hurry and they think I'm in their way. But they sure do like the products they get at Walmart and don't seem to understand that, 1 + 1 = 2. But anyway, going back to the previous somewhat previous conversation that we were dallying in. I got this one off of the CNN politics page, Jeff, which should be the key warning for complete load of horse manure. But okay, this comes from CNN. Republican Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona is expected to deliver a floor speech on Wednesday in which he will compare President Trump's attacks on the news media to the rhetoric of late Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin. According to an excerpt of the speech, wow, apparently Flake can still write. Maybe he should have read some history first. Flake will criticize
I'm sure he didn't write it. I'm sure he didn't write it.
Yeah, probably one of his legislative assistants wrote it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Flake will criticize the president for calling the news media the enemy of the people, calling it an assault as unprecedented as it is unwarranted. Really, Mr. Flake, do you have any proof? Okay. The quote goes on, Mr. President, it is a testament to the condition of our democracy that our own president uses words infamously spoken by Joseph Stalin to describe his enemies. It bears noting that so fraught with malice was the phrase enemy of the people that even Nikita Khrushchev, wow, I actually could pronounce that one, forbade its use, telling the Soviet Communist Party that the phrase had been introduced by Stalin for the purpose of annihilating such individuals who
I'm going to have you stop right there because I have to go back to something. This is from his speech, right?
Yeah.
All right.
It's excerpt.
So our esteemed senator from our esteemed senator from Arizona doesn't even know that this is a republic, not a democracy. It's a representative republic. It's not a democracy. It's not a direct democracy. What an idiot. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's see. Who disagreed with the supreme leader. Okay. Well, first of all, we don't have a supreme leader in the United States. That would be the people. Flake's prepared speech goes on to say that presidents' actions should be a great source of shame. So let's get this right. Roughly 50% of the country voted for Trump, give or take, which would mean that Senator Flake says that 50% of the population should be a great source of shame. Don't think he felt that way when they voted him into office down there in Arizona a couple of years ago.
To represent Arizona, not
not the
U.S.,
U.S.
not a general government, not the U.S. He's there to represent his people in the state of Arizona, which completely eludes him. And for that fact, every other of the 100 senators, it completely eludes them.
Yeah.
And
he goes on.
Jose, and dare say, even when I like Rand Paul, it eludes him most times too.
Yeah, Rand's nowhere near his dad. He's
no,
probably
he's not
the
as
best
bad,
one there.
But it eludes him. He has no problem being a national senator at times as well. So it eludes it eludes them all.
Senator Flake's comments go on to say, the free press is the despot's enemy, which makes the free press the guardian of democracy. Actually, Mr. Flake, that was supposed to be Congress's job, but since you've abdicated every single one of the authorities you were actually supposed to do to some mid-level bureaucracy that nobody gets a vote into, you should just retire. When a figure in power reflexively calls any press that doesn't suit him fake news, which it is that person who should be the figure of suspicion, not the press. Oh, so Jeff, do I have this right? We're never supposed to question anything in the news. If a news agency, quote unquote, says it's news, we should just take them at face value.
Well, news, politicians, sure, they never lie. They're the paragons of virtue.
They never try to shade the truth to fit their agenda. It's always, we just give you the facts.
No, okay. they don't shade the truth. That would just kind of be a little bit underhanded. No, they flat out lie.
Lie's an understatement, brother.
A politician or someone in the media opens their mouth, they're lying.
And of course, this is all coming from a person who announced he will not be seeking re-election in 2018. Why? Probably because he sucks as a senator and won't get reelected because just about anybody's cat could run against him and win. He ain't done nothing. But anyway, let's see here. He said he will use his remaining time in the Senate to speak out against the president when he believes it is warranted. AKA, he's going to use his one vote in the U.S. Senate to try and get himself all the little perks he can while leaving office. A frequent critic of Trump, Flake announced his decision to retire in a Senate speech in October that bemoaned the coarsening tenor of politics in the United States and criticized his own party's complacency with Trump's behavior. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo, Mr. Flake. Where were you when Obama was doing all the junk? The Arizona Republican has said he doesn't have any formal plans to run for president after his time on Capitol Hill. But I don't rule anything out, but it's not in my plans. Told This Week, that was last month. I don't know. I feel like I need to go take a shower after reading that. Just the amount of BS is thick.
These people are there to serve one thing. To serve one person, and that's themselves. They're there not to represent the citizens of their states. They're there to represent themselves. I asked you this earlier. What other job is there that you could be a middle-class person with maybe a couple $100,000 to your name and run for an office, become a congressman or senator, and get a salary of about $170,000 a year, and turn that into being a massively rich multimillionaire, perhaps 100 millionaire after your short term in Congress or Senate. There's no other job that I can turn a middle class income into hundreds of millions of dollars.
The worst thing about it.
They're corrupt.
The worst thing about it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The worst thing about it is he's not even supposed to represent people. He's supposed to be the state's representative. He's supposed to be Arizona's representative in the Senate. And the only reason there were supposed to be two of them is in case one was facing election and it was going to take them months to get one guy from California to D.C. in order to represent the state. They're supposed to be state appointments, not elected officials, because they're supposed to answer the state legislature and be the political arm of the state in relation to the federal government. That was the original way it was set up. And if that had still been the case, I seriously doubt Mr. Flake wouldn't have been sent back to the state by now.
They can replace him already.
Right.
There would
because
be no
there's a lot
election.
no, because the state would just recall him. It'd be like, well, your term's 6 years, but we don't give a care. You're coming back. We're appointing someone else. They'd have that authority. But because the states, well, there's some discussion. The states never officially ratified that amendment, but the amendment's, quote, on the Constitution. And now that goes to the people of the states, the popular election, which means all he's got to do is hoodwink 50% of the population plus one vote into thinking he's a good guy. That's what elections in a democracy devolve to. 50% plus one vote. And they can have anything they want.
Yep.
Which is why we're supposed to be a representative republic and not a democracy.
But we're a democracy. Basically, it's vote for what gets you your goodies.
Senator Flake sure says we are.
We're only 20 trillion in debt. We're just not in debt enough yet, I guess. So,
well,
is that it for that flaky story? Are we done with flaky story?
Yeah. I think that turned me off of cornflakes now permanently, but I'll have to live with my decision.
Have frosted flakes. They're at least sweet.
There we go. There we'll go. We'll make him sweet frosted flakes.
Okay, there you go. So anyway, the second big story we had this week, it was a big story for all of about 20 minutes, and it was a way bigger story than the media. I mean, the media just let it go, and they said something about it, and it was gone that fast. Was out of Hawaii. Shortly after 8 a.m. local time Saturday morning, an employee at the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency settled in to start his shift. Among his duties that day was to initiate an internal test of the emergency missile warning system, sending an emergency alert to the public without actually sending it to the public. It was a drill the agency had started with some regularity last November, around the time Hawaii reinstated its Cold War-era nuclear warning sirens amid growing fears of an attack by North Korea. And so while the tests were not yet routine enough to be predictable, they were not entirely new either. According to the agency spokesman, around 8:05 a.m., the Hawaii emergency employee initiated an internal test according to the timeline released by the state. From the drop-down menu on the computer program, he saw two options: test missile alert and missile alert. He was supposed to choose the former. As much of the world now knows, he chose the latter to initiate a real-life missile alert. So I've posted this on our Facebook page the day it happened. Within minutes of that happening, it was on Facebook, and I posted it onto ours. I mean, quite literally, it was there's a missile inbound, and that was. I mean, it was it. I mean, okay, here it is. Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Inbound to Hawaii. The alert. And then at the end of it, it said, "This is not a drill." Okay, here it is. But inbound to Hawaii, seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. That's what was actually sent to every phone in Hawaii. And at the same time, that also turned on their siren system. So there were people on Facebook saying they were getting phone calls from family members saying goodbye. They could hear the sirens in the background going off while that whole that message, and they text that they posted that message right on Facebook. They said, "I just got this from my family member." This all popped up. There was 4 or 5 of them that popped up immediately, and so I was like, "Oh, I wonder." And they're saying, "I just got a call from my family member. She's saying that there's a missile inbound. Goodbye, we love you." They literally, people were calling family members. This is serious. I mean, these people thought they were going to die. They were under the impression that missile was going to strike because they got a message from the States saying this was not a drill. This was actually coming.
I'm amazed at how quick they were to think the end of the world had happened. They didn't try shelter. They went immediately to Facebook like, I want to know. I want to tell all my family. No, this was their
family members here on the mainland that were posting this. People on the mainland were posting this. They said, "I just got this from a family member." I was just on the phone with them. They're saying goodbye to me. They could hear the sirens in the background. This was what was being posted by people on the mainland. I'm not talking about people on Hawaii. They weren't posting this stuff. They were all running around getting ready to die. I mean, they took it seriously, and so did the people on the mainland. The people on the mainland were the ones that posted all this stuff. They said they were like, I mean, you could hear the sirens in the background. They were all thought that Hawaii was going to get blown off the map. And it stayed out there for 38 minutes. Nothing was ever retracted for 38 minutes. People were thinking they were going to die.
Could you imagine sitting in the Oval Office and getting that? Oh, one of our techs in Hawaii bumped the wrong button, and we nearly launched all our nukes.
Now, in his defense, I've done it oftentimes. I don't have send missile alert or test missile alert system. I don't have that on my computer, but how many times have I pulled a drop down and hit the wrong thing? I've done it a million times. It's possible. I don't doubt that that's precisely what happened. But it took them 38 minutes to figure out that they just sent out an alert, and people were losing their minds over this.
How long before the governor? It took the governor of Hawaii 38 minutes to call to the missile alert system test site and go, "Okay, what's coming?" And it took 38 minutes for the president to be notified.
No, it took him 38 minutes to send out another text telling them it was a mistake. So 38 minutes. People were, for 38 minutes, were waiting for that missile to hit.
It reminds me of the nuke sirens we have down here because of TMI. And most of the time, here's the general response. "Oh, great. They're testing the sirens again." Nobody even thinks that it could be real. It's like, "Oh, great. They're testing the sirens again. No, I won't get any sleep now because all day at noon, it'll be going, bah." We don't have them up where I'm at, but just south of me does. Yeah. Oh, my soul. They are annoying, too.
But so anyway, that was big news this weekend. That was on Saturday. And quite literally, I posted it on our Facebook. You can find on the Cerberus site. You can find it there. I mean, it created quite a stir, and the media is kind of letting it go. My whole thing was about that. If that wasn't a mistake, and if Kim Jong-un decided he was going to lob a missile and detonate it over our landmass and create an electromagnetic pulse, would anyone out there? Would any of you out there be prepared for the coming civil unrest?
Oh, yeah. And after about 2 days without power, you'd be shocked at what people in these cities will start doing.
Oh, it'll be everywhere. So that's all. That was my takeaway from this. It was obviously we kind of joke about it, laugh about it now. And I'm sure the people out there now are starting to joke about it and laugh about it too. But at the time, everyone took it very seriously. They thought that there was going to be a mushroom cloud forming up over maybe Pearl Harbor or one of the other cities in Hawaii. Beyond that, had it been an actual missile and had it been an air detonation, it could quite literally destroy our grid and put us back into basically a time without electric, back into the 1800s for a very long time, because we don't make those transformers and the stuff that would take to get the electrical grid back online here in the United States. We'd be at the University of Europe. What's that? We don't make them here. They're from Europe.
No. Yeah. They got to be made in Europe, they don't have to be, but they are made in Europe and Africa and I think China. There's only 4 plants in the world that make those transformers the size you need to run the grid. Right. Why we don't make them here?
Because of regulation. I guarantee you it's because of regulation, because of the chemicals that are inside them.
Well, and see, here's the other thing. The grid could be hardened against that kind of an attack.
Could be.
Congress don't want to pay the money for it, and the electric companies go, it'll never happen. Don't worry about it.
Right. So anyway,
it'll happen.
That was my takeaway from it, is that we didn't have anything that day, but had that been a real thing, what would be our response as far as our survival? Because at that point, it is a survival event here. So, and I can guarantee you that sometime this week when Suzanne's on, I would be willing to bet there will be some sort of discussion about some sort of prepping related to that alert. So if you want to hear some more about that and about from the prepper, you wait and listen to Suzanne later in the week, because I bet you there'll be something on her show. So I'm ready for a break.
I was going to say, that brings us up to our break. Okay, go ahead and take us out, Jeff.
All right, this is the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny.
Of Borg. Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us.
No, we will not service Washington.
Mr. Worf, fire. Of Borg. Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us.
No, we will not service Washington.
Mr. Worf,
Well, we are here and live, and this is another episode of the Renegade and the Rambler show, only on the Cerberus Radio Network. And yes, some of the graphics have been updated, some of them haven't been. Anyway, I'm not a graphic artist. We all know this. I'm a truck driver, and I want to be radio host. But anyway, so I had an eventful week, but how was your week, Jeff?
Well, without getting into any of the details, it has been a relatively stressful week. New York State has thrown yet another hardball, curveball at us. And so we are in kind of a strange spot right now. I'm not going to get into any details. People that know me know all the details anyway. So it's just been a kind of a stressful week. Not kind of in a limbo state at this point. So,
oh, my soul. Yeah, I hear you there. I've been driving through New York City all week, so that was a lot of fun.
New York City, good grief! I feel for you. I mean, I don't go there personally. I avoid that place. I've been there once in my life, and I would never go back.
Oh, I go to Brooklyn every night. I think I see on average one near accident to at least 3 accidents every trip into the city.
Yeah, I take that back. I've been to Brooklyn a number of times in relation to my duties, but I've only been in New York once otherwise, and I would never go back to go just otherwise.
I was going to say there's only 2 landmarks I want to see in New York City, and that's the Statue of Liberty and the Freedom Tower. I just want to see the view off the top of the tower, but I think I can get a webcam that'll show me all that without actually going there. Yeah. So
I guess I'm going to just break in here and change the subject slightly for a minute. Suzanne and I were supposed to do a show tomorrow. It was posted up that we were doing a show tomorrow. And then I realized that tomorrow is a federal holiday. That means I forgot all about it. I was sitting here planning. I was actually doing prep for tomorrow. I spoke to the guests for Suzanne's show for tomorrow. And about an hour later, it dawned on me that tomorrow is a federal holiday. That means my shift changes from 2 to 10 to 9 to 5. So I am 9 to 5 tomorrow. So there will not be a paradigm shift or searched.
None of the nearly 40 people aboard the bus were injured. Vargas Rosas is in the U.S. illegally and was previously deported to Mexico in 2012, according to the Daily Herald. Vargas Rosas reportedly faces charges of felony terroristic threats and disorderly conduct. Kind of an interesting situation there. I'm not sure why the bus driver didn't pull over. I mean, he said he thought it was a training exercise. That sounds bogus, but I guess he thought he was in the right to just keep going. I don't know.
Anyway, this guy was an illegal immigrant that was deported 5 times. Is that the story, if I remember right?
Yes, and he had a DUI charge on his record as well, which means he shouldn't have been allowed back in the country.
So anyway, they obviously really enforcing our immigration policies very stringently, and it works.
We've got it locked down, driver. We've got it locked down.
So we also have, we have this guy making threats against people, deported 5 times. We have that guy in the Steinle case in California acquitted for her death. And again, Suzanne and I talked about that on one of her shows because the DA went for the murder charge instead of going for what it really was. It was a manslaughter charge. Had they gone for the right charge, he would have been.
Well, I'll have to ask you at some point, but I thought that normally when the DA tried to charge you with a crime, they nailed you to everything they thought would stick, which means if you got them, if they thought you could get murder 1, they'd charge you with murder 1, murder 2, murder 3, manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter. You were charged with like everything when you got to court, hoping that at least one stick.
Right. Well, they don't do that. They didn't do that in this case. They went for the whole thing, all or nothing, and which was the wrong way to go with anyway, because they should have charged him properly, and he would have been convicted, but they didn't. And the problem is he got off with killing this lady. It wasn't necessarily murder, but again, an illegal alien reported many times in a sanctuary city. And this kind of goes back, we were talking about this before the show, in these sanctuary cities. I have no problem with a city being a sanctuary city. That may surprise a lot of people. What does that mean for me? Well, that means that's fine. The people of Chicago want to be a sanctuary city. Take them all in. I don't care. It's not my problem. But and I am dead serious when I say it's not my problem. When they need more money, this is on the people that live there in Chicago. Or if you want to be San Francisco, want to be that, raise the taxes on the people in San Francisco. Don't ask me to foot the bill.
Yeah, or the whole state of California.
Or all 50 states in the union. Why are the other 50 states in the union paying to foot the bill? Because Chicago wants to have a bunch of people that are here illegally, and a lot of them are felons. They're felony convictions.
Now the reply to that would be, well, why does your California have to send disaster relief to Florida? Well, okay, we'll turn that right back on you, California. Why should Florida have to send you disaster relief for your mountains that burn every year?
Or your mudslides. I have a story on
mudslides.
Or your earthquakes. And quite honestly, that's correct. Why is other 50 states subsidizing their, and quite honestly, New Orleans, New Orleans should foot the bill for theirs. That's what the insurance is for. If the insurance companies want to write for storm insurance there, they'll charge the premiums it takes to pay to rebuild the stuff there. If they don't want to, then it's all on the people there. It's their, you know what? There is no personal responsibility today. It's always got to be somebody else's responsibility. It's got to be some insurance company. It's got to be some state government, or got to be the federal government. But in reality, it's our problem. It's our personal responsibility. But again, Chicago wants to be a sanctuary city. Have at it. Do it up great. But don't ask me to pay for any of it. It's not my job to pay for those illegal immigrants there. Well, the immigrants that you want there, those are your immigrants. Then and again, these are state issues, and the federal government has a responsibility for naturalization. They don't have responsibility for immigration. They have a responsibility for naturalization. Different thing. So it's not the federal government's job for immigration. It's the state's jobs. They set the policy for who they want to come there. If Chicago wants to have these people, then pay for them.
I believe Madison said the only exception to that would be if there was a declared enemy, such as, say, we're at war with North Korea or we're at war with Mexico. Well, then all Mexicans would have to be deported because we're at war with Mexico. You don't know who the sleeper agent is and who isn't, unless they're a U.S. citizen, whether they're here friendly or not. This was all dealt with during the Alien and Sedition Acts, which is where we get the information from. Because what had happened then is you had French subjects living in Virginia that were friendly with Virginia, and D.C. was getting itchy about it because they thought France was going to declare war on the U.S. for not paying off the Revolutionary War debt, which never amounted to anything because, Louis the 16th or Louis the 14th? Anyway, one of the King Louis ended up getting killed before anything was going to happen anyway because his people revolted and destroyed the government. And yeah, about 3 French revolutions later within the next 5 years. But that's where that all came from. The federal government was trying to overreach power to deport people that were not a threat to anybody, and the state of Virginia and Kentucky told them no, you couldn't do it. You had no constitutional authority to do it. And that lasted till what? Until after the War of Northern Aggression? I haven't studied it.
I'm not sure
than that.
I haven't studied our immigration policies in the United States well enough to know. I just am going back to the Constitution as written. That we're talking naturalization. The states gave them authority to have a uniform naturalization. That doesn't mean immigration. So
Well, that's like, I didn't brief you on this story before the show, but did you see the story in North Carolina where the federal judge ordered them to redraw their districts, or they, quote, were going to redraw their congressional districts?
a federal judge?
A federal circuit court judge, a 3-judge panel.
He has no authority over districts in North Carolina.
Correct. And that is what North Carolina legislature told the federal judge. You have no jurisdiction in this matter. This is a legislative issue, not a judicial issue.
That's right.
And
it's a legislative issue.
And then in the same breath, and then in the same breath said they were going to appeal it to the Supreme Court. And it's like, no, they don't have any jurisdiction. You sit there and tell them that, and then say if they try to enforce it, you're going to arrest them.
Right.
It's the end of the discussion. You don't sit there and go, well, we don't agree with this, and you don't have authority, and we're going to appeal it to the Supreme Court. No, you don't appeal it to the Supreme Court. You say, no, we don't care.
The answer. You already gave him the answer. You don't have authority. Pound sand.
Yeah. I don't understand why everybody thinks we got to go to 9 unelected oracles that sit on top of a bench that somehow are supposed to dictate to us what the Constitution says. Constitution is very clear on this matter. The Fed has no authority at all over elections. Civil rights law be damned.
I think the only thing the Constitution said is I think they have to.
It's up to the states to determine the method of the election.
Up to the states to determine. That's it. I don't remember anything.
The only other election things were handled in amendments when they lowered the voting age from 21 to 18, when they gave women suffrage, and when they gave blacks suffrage. That was it. And the blacks technically had suffrage before. They just said you can't ban blacks from voting. You can't have a poll test. But that was a constitutional amendment. There's nothing else in there. It's up to the legislature to write the districts. It's up to the legislature to hold the elections.
Right. There's the federal courts. Again, here it is. We have the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions. You alluded to them. I talked about them in my show the other day. The fact of the matter is the states need to start acting like states. Tell them no. The court has no authority over this. The Constitution gave that federal judge no authority to hear just redistricting lines. None. So the state had the right answer. They told them you have no authority. Pound sand. They should now pass a resolution or a law saying that if any federal judge sends any federal officers to try to enforce this ruling, we will arrest them and put them in jail for a term no less than 10 years, or no less than 15 years, or no less than 20 years. And that's
no less than 3 months. I don't care. Just pass the daggone law to say, hey, you can't do this, and if you do this, we're going to arrest you.
Right.
Well, anyway, that's the end, Jeff. So you want to say bye real quick before I cut you off?
Bye.
Anyway, this has been another thrilling episode of the Renegade and the Rambler show. You can find us all the time on the Cerberus Radio Network. We replay the show occasionally on the network. You can also find us on the Facebook stream, and you can find us here on YouTube. You can watch it anytime on YouTube if you want. Just make sure you click the like button if you like the video. You can comment on the video below. And you also have the ability to subscribe to the channel, and you can check out all our videos. There is a box that'll pop up. I'm not sure which side of my head it pops up on, but it'll pop up and it'll give you the list of all the videos, including Suzanne's show, the Wasatch Report, my show, the Bailey Report, and Jeff's show, the Paradigm Shift. So stay tuned to Facebook. We'll let you know when and if we're going to be able to fit in the Wasatch Report this week or the Paradigm Shift. If the Bailey Report somehow magically makes it to air, I will make sure I post a notice to it to let you all know. Until next week, this is the Renegade, Dan Bailey signing off. We look forward to seeing you next week. We're on live every week, Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Well, 2000 Eastern Time at night in the PM. So we'll see you then. Stay safe. Stay warm. and watch out for those false ballistic reports. Good night, everybody.